tell me a little bit about, from your perspective, what differentiates a leader from a manager to begin with? Like, what is that quality that you immediately identify as this guy's a leader, not a manager?
They draw people to themselves. Persuasion. They have strong persuasion skills. People want to follow somebody who's enthusiastic about what they do. A manager is someone who people look at as a taskmaster. They force them to do these things. I'm accountable to this manager. But a leader draws people into themselves. And people want to follow a leader because they believe in the greater mission. It's night and day. It's oil and water again. You know, the leaders are people who are always going to be successful. Managers as a whole are not.
Do you believe that everyone can be a leader? Like, not in their space, but I mean, do you believe everyone has that talent, or is that something that some people need to recognize they're better off working for a great leader, even if they are still CEO of their companies, you know, in essence, and are the number one creator of a business, you know?
Yeah. I think there are people who are natural leaders automatically that really have that power of drawing people to their vision and their future for, you know, the future scene of how they want the company to be and their lives. They buy into that and they go together to accomplish the goals. But honestly, not everybody is born, if you will, with leadership ability. A lot of it has to be taught. You know, I've been studying this for conservatively 20 years, actually longer than that. But I mean, very solid study. I have a library valued at over $400,000, probably closer to $500,000 now, that I've acquired over the years. I study everything I can about leadership. I try to follow as many leadership experts as I can. And is there one of the things that kind of talks about, King Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. But there's different perspectives in how you look at things, and taking this and putting it with this becomes a whole new thing. You know, it's 1 + 1 = 3. You know, it's this guy has this phenomenal idea. Let's take this and put this over here with this. And a lot can be accomplished that way. But I believe that every person can learn some leadership skills, because some of it's common sense. But as they say, sometimes things aren't so common anymore.
Right, especially seeing all the diverse cultures and the flow of information today. People see things differently. You said something really interesting. You said leadership can be taught, and I agree with that. I think people can learn, obviously, but you know, I've had arguments with other kind of individuals in our academy who have taught aspects of leadership, who said leadership can't really be taught. It has to be practiced in order to be learned. Do you believe that the practice is what makes the leader ultimately, or can it genuinely be taken as a course, or can you take classes to make yourself, or read books to make yourself a better leader without the practice?
I think the best way to be better as a leader is to find a mentor who's a great leader. You can study books all you want to, and you learn things, and I do that. And you're familiar with mastermind groups, right? Figured you probably would be. I'm a member of 3 high-level mastermind groups that are 25,000 or more a year. And to be able to access greater minds than your own is awesome. And you have the free flow of information back and forth, helps everybody amplify their game. And I believe having a mentor is the biggest and best thing you can have, because you have somebody to bounce off your ideas. In other words, if I'm having, as a leader, I'm having a problem with what has been a traditionally great employee, all of a sudden they're having issues. You know, okay, what do you think I should do about this? And then you get feedback on it. And then they can tell you, and you can say, okay, that's good, that's bad, or whatever. But for you to have access to someone who's been there, done that, is awesome. But you can definitely learn it from courses and things like that. But those are really more tips and ideas. But as far as the actual connection you have with people, that is something that really has a lot to do with you as an individual. You may or may not be a person who really cares about their people. I do. You know, I believe that's important. I believe people can tell it if you care about them or not. They will, I assure you. And you know, I have situations, for example, where I do things for my people outside of the employee-employer relationship. You know, for example, I had one of my employees who had 2 miscarriages and then had a stillborn baby. And, you know, and I'm not saying this to go, oh, Dave, you're awesome. I'm just saying this is the kind of thing you do when you really care about your people. When they had the baby stillborn, and, you know, and they were devastated, I stepped up and paid for the grave, the vault, the headstone, and everything, so they did not have to worry about that. And it cost me about $5,000-6,000 somewhere. But can you imagine how loyal that employee is to me?
Right. I mean, it's the art of understanding people, and really, it's more than just they're coming to work, right? It's like family, in essence, a new family.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be bound by blood. I mean,
correct.
So, I mean, why do you feel so many young people today miss that mark when they're in the workforce? Why do you think so many young people, kind of almost rebellious towards management, etc., especially based on the age constraint? Do you feel that they feel misunderstood, or do you think that there is a disconnect somewhere else?
I believe they're jaded because they've seen what happens to what has happened to their parents. Is probably one of the biggest reasons, I would think, because they've seen the companies that their parents worked for would kick them out, or they would shut down and take their production overseas. And they're a little bit jaded. They're a little less likely to be loyal than their parents were. I will say we have 61 employees at our company. My employees is the name of the company, obviously, again. And I know that kind of confuses people, but I liked it. I picked the name, and because that's who we're talking about, right? My employees as a manager. But I believe personally, you just have to have the relationship with them. Half my company's millennials. According to most management leadership gurus, you've got to treat your millennials differently than you treat other people. Well, I don't. And half my team is millennials. So how can I do that? Well, because I treat them all with dignity and respect. I value their opinion. We use the exact same program that I talked about earlier, Star Culture. We survey our people every 6 months. They tell us specifically what they like, what they don't like, and we address that in front of the whole group. I don't know if you read my book or not, but in it I talk about book club. Every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, we have all 61 of our employees meeting in the training room, and we discuss a chapter that we read during the week at some point. And we all read the same chapter, right? So you probably think we'd say all the same thing? Wrong. You might have your Uncle Bob who had a situation you could tell about, and I've got my Aunt Jane, and I can tell a whole different story. So we talk about the principles within the chapter. For example, we do things like Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's about relationships. We did Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. That's about managing your money better. Book club, my man, has nothing to do with how you improve your success at the company. But as a direct result of building my people, they become better employees and better team members, better fathers, mothers, coworkers. So, I mean, it affects the company in a massive way.